Up next is SMU and head coach Sonny Dykes. The Mustangs are 6-0 overall, 2-0 in the American. They were in action Saturday against Tulsa. SMU won the game in 3 overtimes, 43-37. Mustangs are idle this week. Their next game will be October 19th against Temple. And as we mentioned at the top of the call, James Prochet of SMU was named as the American Player of the Week and also the Walter Camp National Offensive Player of the Week. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the call. If we just get your thoughts on the win against Tulsa, maybe a few words about James' performance and what that meant to your team and what you expect out of your open week as you get ready to face Temple on the 19th.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a good win for us. You know, it was you got to give Tulsa a lot of credit. I mean, they came in here and had a great game plan, and their players really played hard. Was really impressed with you know, the way that they were prepared, and thought they had a great game plan. And you know, we knew coming in it would be a tough game. That's historically been a really close football game, but back and forth game between SMU and Tulsa. And you know, their guys were ready to play. You know, we were really fortunate to win. You know, you got to give our guys some credit for just hanging in there and fighting. You know, we were down 21 going in the fourth quarter, and you know, to be able to figure out a way to win a game like that's hard to do. And particularly when you're playing against that kind of defense, because you have to be really patient in order to move the ball. And you know, it's just we made some plays. Obviously, James was really critical, made a couple of big plays down the stretch for us. You know, and we had the ball bounce our way a couple of times, and we did some uncharacteristic things. You know, we didn't field a kickoff, and they recovered it for a touchdown, which we haven't made mistakes like that this year. And then we, you know, busted 2 coverages where we're playing cover 3, and we just turn a receiver loose. And so we made some mistakes that were a little bit uncharacteristic for us and got us into a hole. But again, Tulsa had a lot to do with that. I thought they did a great job getting their team ready to play. You know, we need an open date. You know, I'm always have a little bit of mixed emotions, you know, about open dates. Sometimes, if you're playing well, you know, sometimes you really don't want one because you're kind of in a groove, but other times you need one just to try to get some things fixed. You know, we haven't played particularly well really the last 6 quarters. If you go back to the second half of the South Florida game, and you know, and we played okay in the fourth quarter the other night, but there's been some pretty bad football there kind of in the middle. And so we got to get some things fixed. We got to get back to some fundamental things and improving and getting better and just some of the basic things that we do. And you know, as I said, we were very fortunate to win a football game. We made a lot of mistakes that are a little bit uncharacteristic for us.
We'll take questions for Coach Sonny Dykes, please. Star 1 on your keypad will put you in the queue, then the operator will introduce you.
Perfect. So we'll take our first question from Dennis Dodd again with CBS Sports. Please go ahead.
Hi, Sonny. Nobody really knew what the transfer portal was going to mean, and it's still evolving, I guess. When did this, I guess, in your mind, become a sort of, you know, at least part of your philosophy for you guys this year?
Well, you know, Dennis, I think it's just one of those things that I don't know that when we took the job at SMU that we thought that's the way it was going to be. You know, it's just kind of the way it turned out. You know, being in the Metroplex and the number of really good high school football players that are here, you know, our first year here, we just all of a sudden started getting kids that, you know, were reaching out to us, you know, through a high school coach or through a teammate or whatever, where, you know, they're just kind of saying, hey, look, I'd like to come back, you know, come back home. And I was glad to see the portal happen because I think it cleaned up some of the things that were happening with transfers, you know, where it made it good for the players. It made it clean. You know, I think that was a good move by the NCAA because I always felt like there was some underhanded stuff going on when it came to kids transferring and how it happened. And so, you know, I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think it gives kids options. You know, because I mean, look, it's about young people. I mean, this game is not about the coaches; it's about the players, and it gives them options. You know, to have a better situation for them. You know, do I worry about the message sometimes it sends to young people? Yes, certainly. But I think at the end of the day, you know, anything that's good for young people and helps them get a degree and graduate from college. Because 93% of the players that play football don't go play in the NFL. And so those 93% better get a degree, and I think it helps with that.
Yeah, well, was there a point when a light bulb went on, where you said, "But yeah, this makes total sense. A lot of kids would like to come back to the Metroplex." I'm sure it's not something you really thought of taking the job, but then it's kind of landed in your lap again.
Yeah, no, it did. And it's one of those situations where we just started thinking, well, look, there's, this makes a lot of sense for us because we, you build your program with high school players. There's no question you have to. And instead of, but we had some pretty significant holes that we needed to fill, and especially from a depth standpoint. And so when we sat down and started talking about doing it, and what was going to be our approach. Look, we took one transfer that only had 1 year of eligibility. And so I think there's a misconception out there that all these kids are coming in here and they're just going to be here for 1 year. Well, we have one. And everybody else has multiple years of eligibility. And a lot of the grad transfers have 2 years of eligibility. Zach Abercrombie, a D tackle, is the only one with 1 year. And so, what it did for us is it filled in spots in our roster where we needed to have spots. We might not have a junior tight end, but we have Kylan Granson now, who transferred from Rice, who's a junior tight end. It's a really good player. And so it balanced out our recruiting classes. It filled out our roster the way that needed to be filled out. We didn't take guys that didn't fit, our culture, and we felt like our culture was strong enough to be able to bring in a lot of different kids from different backgrounds. And academics is always important to us. But probably the number one thing is, we're not taking kids that got kicked off other teams or have bad attitudes or any of that. We're taking kids that are coming home to play in front of their friends and family, and getting a master's degree from SMU means something to a lot of these kids from an academic standpoint. And so, it helped. It's given our team some maturity and given us some depth, and these guys have come in and have acclimated themselves remarkably well.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll now take our next question from Chris Benini with The Athletic. Please go ahead.
Hey, Sonny, obviously Tulsa's improved from last year. You guys are improved, and the league's got a number of ranked teams. What do you kind of make of the depth of the league this year and some of the programs that are taking a step up?
Yeah, I think the league is very deep. I think you look at Tulane, and as you start looking at Tulane's players, and they have a very, very solid football team. Tulsa's got a very solid football team. You just start looking at everybody in our side of the league. Navy's got a very solid football team and having a ton of success and winning football games against good people. Houston's got a solid football team. You just start looking, and really everybody is very competitive. I would expect every single game, week in, week out, to be a dogfight. There's nobody that you look at that just goes, well, these guys are just better than everybody else in the league. That just doesn't exist. There are probably 5-6 teams that are capable of winning the league, it looks like to me. We'll see how it plays out, but that's not the case in a lot of leagues. When you start looking at, you go conference by conference, and you go, well, in this league, is there another league that has 5 or 6 teams that actually can win the league? And I think that's certainly the case in ours. And I think there's a tremendous amount of parity, and I think there are programs that are emerging. And it's like I've said from the very beginning. I think this league is a lot closer to a Power 5 league than it is to some of the other Group of 5 leagues. I just think that's the way it is. And so, a lot of depth, a lot of good football players, outstanding coaches, and every single team, is got momentum and is playing hard.
Appreciate it, Sonny.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Take one more for Coach Dykes, please.
Thank you. So we'll take our next question from Stephen Hawkins with the Associated Press. Please go ahead.
Hey, Sonny, you addressed this a little bit after the game the other day. Maybe your team was playing a little tight in the first half, and, they kind of started hearing the things and, hearing people talk about them and all that. Do you think during this off week there's something you need to address, or do you think the way that your team responded in the second half and the overtime to those games to win it maybe kind of got them past that?
No, I think there's something there. I mean, it's not, we just talked about this in a staff meeting. I mean, it's not like our guys are patting ourselves on the back. That I don't think that's happening. There's not a sense of we've got this figured out or any of that kind of thing. But I do think there is a sense of they really want to win. They really want to win for our fans. And I think at times, you start taking on a lot of that pressure and look, we didn't perform very well in the first half. Tulsa had a lot to do with it, but we just weren't. I think our guys were playing not to make a mistake, and we haven't played that kind of football. We have played really aggressive, hair on fire football leading up to this game, and for whatever reason this week, it just seemed like our guys were tentative and just a little bit more afraid to mess up. And it just, we just didn't turn it loose like we've been turning it loose. Like I said, you got to give Tulsa a lot of credit. I mean, it had a lot to do with that. But we just didn't, we weren't playing with that same kind of reckless abandon that our guys have been playing with. And so I think that filters down from the coaches. I probably felt a little bit of that myself, and probably coached a little bit that way in the first half. And we're a team that thrives on being very aggressive and playing playing aggressive, and it just seemed like we didn't do that.
Are you starting to hear a lot from former SMU players, or are they kind of still letting you just kind of be a coach and kind of you do what you do right now?
Yeah, I know we're hearing some folks who probably haven't heard from for a while, which is great. It's awesome to hear from them, and I think everybody knows. I mean, we're halfway through the season, and so we haven't really accomplished a whole lot up to this point. But I'm proud of our players, and I was really proud of the way they played the other night. Like I said, I think they showed a lot of character, being able to fight through that. I saw a stat which was pretty remarkable to me. I think I saw something that said, teams down 21 points going in the fourth quarter were 9 in 3,000 in the last 15 years. And so, it's a pretty substantial thing to be able to come back, and again, shows a lot of grit and a lot of character. But we got to put ourselves in a better situation than we did last week, and because we had to have some things bounce our way to win that game, and you don't want to rely on that.
All right, thanks, Sonny.
Okay, thank you.
Coach, thanks so much for your time this morning. Enjoy the open week, and look forward to hearing from you once again next Monday.